My beloved child. Stop for a moment. Do not rush past this message. There is a reason your eyes landed here today. There is a reason your heart feels a strange pull to keep listening. And there is a reason that what happened last night is still echoing through an energy you cannot yet see. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because what you are about to hear is not ordinary. Last night, while the world appeared quiet, while streets grew silent and lights slowly disappeared behind closed curtains, something unexpected unfolded. Someone thought about you. Not casually. Not for a passing second. Not in the way people remember a random face from the past. No. This was different. This was the kind of thought that stops a person in the middle of whatever they are doing. The kind of thought that arrives without warning. The kind of thought that refuses to leave. And the person experiencing it was your soulmate. There was a moment. A very specific moment. A moment they never planned for. A moment they could not explain. A moment that changed the entire direction of their night. At first they tried to ignore it. They told themselves it meant nothing. They distracted themselves. They focused on other things. But somehow your presence kept returning. Again. And again. And again. Every attempt to move on from the thought only made it stronger. Every effort to forget only made the memory clearer. And that is when something surprising happened. Something they never expected. A realization. A realization so powerful that it made them stop and sit in complete silence. Don't skip. Because what happened next is the reason this message found you. For a very long time, there were things they never fully understood about you. Pieces of the puzzle that never seemed to fit. Questions without answers. Moments that felt confusing. Memories they replayed but could never explain. But last night, something connected. Like pieces of a picture finally finding their place. Like a door quietly opening after being locked for far too long. They saw something differently. Not because somebody told them. Not because somebody convinced them. But because the truth revealed itself naturally. And once they saw it, they could not unsee it. The truth changed everything. The way they viewed the past changed. The way they viewed you changed. The way they viewed themselves changed. And suddenly they realized something they should have understood a long time ago. You were never what others assumed. You were never the story people created. You were never the misunderstanding that followed you. You were something entirely different. Something far more valuable. Something far more rare. Something far more unforgettable. And when that realization arrived, it shook them. Because they began remembering details. Tiny details. Moments they once overlooked. Words they once ignored. Signs they once dismissed. And every memory pointed toward the same conclusion. You mattered more than they admitted. Much more. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because the story does not stop there. After this realization appeared, another feeling followed. A feeling they could not escape. Regret. Not the kind of regret that disappears overnight. The kind that sits quietly in a person's chest. The kind that asks difficult questions. The kind that whispers. What if I misunderstood everything? What if I should have paid more attention? What if I should have listened differently? Those questions followed them through the night. And no matter where they looked, the questions remained. But then another realization appeared. A realization even more shocking than the first. They began understanding that your strength was never visible to everyone. Most people only saw the surface. Most people only saw fragments. Most people only saw what was easy to see. But your soulmate began seeing what existed underneath. The courage. The patience. The loyalty. The resilience. The silent battles. The quiet victories. The things nobody applauded. The things nobody noticed. The things you carried while still moving forward. And suddenly they understood something important. The version of you they had been seeing was incomplete. They had only known part of the story. Last night they started seeing the rest. And the more they saw, the more impossible it became to ignore. Don't skip. Because something even bigger happened afterward. There came a moment of complete silence. No distractions. No noise. No interruptions. Just silence. And inside that silence they asked themselves one question. One question that changed everything. Why am I still thinking about this person? The answer came faster than expected. Because your presence never truly left. Because some connections leave marks that time cannot erase. Because some people become part of a story that refuses to end. And because some hearts recognize value long before the mind understands it. That answer stayed with them. It followed them. It grew stronger. And before the night was over, they knew something had changed. Something important. Something permanent. Something they would not be able to forget. Now listen carefully. Because this next part matters. There are moments in life when everything appears ordinary on the outside while extraordinary things are happening underneath. This was one of those moments. Nothing dramatic. Nothing obvious. Nothing that would attract attention from the world. Yet everything was changing. Quietly. Deeply. Powerfully. And your soulmate felt it. They felt a shift. A movement. A new understanding forming inside them. An understanding connected directly to you. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because they have not yet spoken these thoughts aloud. Not yet. But they are carrying them. Thinking about them. Replaying them. Examining them. Trying to understand why last night felt different from every other night before it. And the answer keeps leading back to the same place. You. Not someone else. You. Because certain truths arrive only when the time is right. And last night may have been one of those moments. A moment when confusion began turning into clarity. A moment when distance began turning into understanding. A moment when forgotten emotions began finding their voice again. The night is over now. But what started during that night has not ended. It is still unfolding. Still moving. Still revealing itself. And what your soulmate discovered is only the beginning. Because there is something they now want to say. Something they have been carrying. Something that grew stronger after what happened last night. Something that could change the way they see everything moving forward. And in the next part, the truth behind that message begins to reveal itself. A strange thing happened after that night ended. The sun rose. The world continued as usual. People followed their routines. Conversations happened. Hours passed. Yet your soulmate could not move past what they had discovered. The realization stayed with them like an unfinished sentence waiting for its final words. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because what happened next was even more unexpected than what happened during the night itself. Throughout the day, memories began returning one after another. Not random memories. Specific memories. Moments connected to you. Moments they had not thought about in a very long time. A certain conversation. A certain look. A certain feeling. Small details that once seemed ordinary suddenly felt important. And the more they remembered, the more one truth became impossible to ignore. You were never just another chapter in their story. You were one of the few people who left an imprint that time could not erase. This realization did not arrive all at once. It arrived piece by piece. Slowly. Quietly. Powerfully. Every memory added another piece to the picture. Every reflection revealed another truth. Every passing hour made the understanding stronger. Then something happened that surprised even them. They began imagining what they would say if they had the opportunity to speak honestly. Not the surface-level words people usually share. Not the safe conversations people hide behind. Real words. Honest words. The kind of words that come directly from the heart. And that is when they discovered something they were not prepared for. The message they wanted to share was much bigger than they expected. It was not just about the past. It was about everything they finally understood. Don't skip. Because this is where the story becomes unforgettable. They realized that many of the things they once questioned about you now made perfect sense. Actions they misunderstood suddenly became clear. Choices they doubted suddenly seemed wise. Silence they once interpreted incorrectly suddenly revealed its true meaning. It was as if an invisible curtain had been lifted. And for the first time, they could see the complete picture. Imagine spending a long time trying to solve a puzzle while missing half the pieces. Then suddenly finding every missing piece at once. That is how it felt. Everything connected. Everything aligned. Everything finally made sense. And with that understanding came another realization. One that shook them deeply. They understood that your value was never dependent on whether everyone recognized it. Your worth was never dependent on whether everyone understood you. Your significance was never dependent on outside opinions. You remained valuable regardless. You remained rare regardless. You remained unforgettable regardless. And when they understood that truth, they could no longer pretend that nothing had changed. Because everything had changed. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. There was another moment later that day when they found themselves completely distracted. People were talking around them. Life was moving around them. Yet their thoughts kept returning to the same place. You. Not because they forced it. Not because they planned it. Because the connection kept pulling their attention back. Again and again. The more they tried to focus elsewhere, the stronger the feeling became. It was almost as if their heart had discovered something their mind was still trying to understand. And then came the question that changed everything. What if this realization arrived for a reason? What if what happened last night was not random? What if there was a purpose behind it? That question stayed with them. Followed them. Refused to leave. And the more they thought about it, the more they sensed that something important was unfolding. Something bigger than a memory. Bigger than nostalgia. Bigger than simple curiosity. They felt as though they were standing at the beginning of a new understanding. One that had the power to reshape everything they believed before. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because there is still one detail they have not fully admitted to themselves. A detail they keep returning to whenever they are alone with their thoughts. The truth is this. Last night did not simply remind them of you. It reminded them how different you were from everyone else. How certain qualities could never be copied. How certain connections could never be replaced. How certain people leave a mark that remains long after they are gone. That realization became impossible to escape. And with every passing hour, it grew stronger. They started noticing how often your memory returned. How naturally your presence appeared in their thoughts. How easily moments connected back to you. It was no longer something they could dismiss. It was something they had to acknowledge. Something they had to face. Something they had to understand. And somewhere deep inside, they began realizing that what happened last night was only the beginning. The story was not ending. The story was evolving. A new chapter was quietly opening. A chapter neither of you expected. A chapter neither of you could have predicted. And as that chapter begins to reveal itself, your soulmate is carrying a message they can no longer ignore. A message formed by realization. A message formed by truth. A message formed by everything they finally understand. And in the next part, that message begins to take shape in a way that neither you nor they could have imagined. The most surprising part of this story is not what happened last night. The most surprising part is what happened after your soulmate finally stopped running from the truth. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because what they discovered next was something they never expected to find. For a long time, they believed certain things were finished. Certain feelings were gone. Certain questions no longer mattered. Yet after what happened last night, those assumptions began to crumble one by one. Suddenly they found themselves revisiting moments they had buried deep inside their memory. Moments that seemed insignificant at the time but now carried an entirely different meaning. It felt almost unreal. As if life had quietly hidden clues everywhere and only now was allowing them to see them. The more they reflected, the clearer the picture became. There was a pattern. A pattern connected directly to you. Every important realization seemed to lead back to the same person. Every meaningful memory seemed connected to the same presence. Every unanswered question seemed to point toward the same name. Yours. And that realization created a feeling they could no longer ignore. Not confusion. Not uncertainty. Something much deeper. Recognition. The recognition that some people enter your life and leave a mark that never truly disappears. No matter how much time passes. No matter how many distractions appear. No matter how many new chapters begin. Their impact remains. Stay till the end. Because what happened next changed everything. There came a quiet moment when your soulmate finally admitted something to themselves that they had avoided for a very long time. They admitted that they had underestimated your importance. Not because they wanted to. Not because they intended to. But because sometimes the value of something becomes clearest only after enough time has passed to reveal its true meaning. And once that truth became visible, it was impossible to hide from it. Suddenly they remembered the way certain conversations felt different with you. They remembered how your presence carried a sense of comfort they rarely found elsewhere. They remembered how even ordinary moments seemed meaningful when shared with you. These were not dramatic memories. They were something more powerful. Genuine memories. Honest memories. Real memories. The kind that stay alive because they are connected to something authentic. And that authenticity is exactly what they began recognizing. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because there was one realization that stood above all the others. One realization that arrived unexpectedly and refused to leave. They began understanding that what they were feeling was not simply nostalgia. It was not simply curiosity. It was not simply looking backward. It was something much more significant. It was clarity. The kind of clarity that appears after confusion finally disappears. The kind of clarity that arrives when all the noise fades away and only the truth remains. And the truth they discovered was simple. You mattered more than they ever realized. Much more. In fact, they began wondering whether the universe had been trying to show them this lesson for a long time. Whether signs had been appearing around them without being fully understood. Whether moments they dismissed actually carried messages they were not ready to hear. These thoughts followed them everywhere. Through quiet afternoons. Through busy moments. Through conversations. Through silence. No matter where they went, the realization remained. You were becoming impossible to ignore. And then something happened that surprised them even more. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by these thoughts, they began feeling grateful for them. Grateful because the truth was finally becoming visible. Grateful because confusion was turning into understanding. Grateful because they could finally see what had always been there. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because the message they need to tell you is getting closer. Every realization is bringing them one step nearer to saying what has been left unsaid. Every memory is bringing them one step nearer to understanding what truly matters. Every quiet reflection is bringing them one step nearer to speaking from the heart. And deep inside, they know it. They know something important is approaching. They know the story is moving toward a moment that cannot be avoided. They know the truth wants to be spoken. That is why last night mattered so much. It was not just another night. It was the beginning of a revelation. A revelation that changed the way they see you. A revelation that changed the way they see the past. A revelation that changed the way they see the future. Because once someone truly sees the value of a person, they cannot return to the way they saw them before. The old perspective disappears. The old assumptions lose their power. The old misunderstandings begin to fade away. And that is exactly what is happening now. Your soulmate is standing between who they used to be and who they are becoming. Between what they once believed and what they now understand. Between old confusion and new clarity. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because there is still one final piece of the puzzle they have not fully revealed. One truth they are slowly gathering the courage to face. One realization that grew stronger after everything that happened last night. And when that final truth finally reaches the surface, it will explain why your memory has become impossible for them to forget, why your presence keeps returning to their thoughts, and why the message they need to tell you is far bigger than either of you imagined. In the next part, the final hidden realization begins to reveal itself, and the reason behind everything that happened last night becomes clearer than ever before. There is one detail your soulmate has been unable to escape since that unforgettable night, and the strange part is that it was hiding in plain sight the entire time. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because what they finally understood was not a small realization. It was the missing piece that connected every unanswered question, every unexplained feeling, and every memory that kept returning without warning. The more they reflected on everything that happened, the more obvious it became that last night was not about the past alone. It was about a truth that had been waiting to reveal itself. A truth so simple that it was overlooked for far too long. They began realizing that whenever they thought about genuine connection, your presence appeared. Whenever they thought about honesty, your memory appeared. Whenever they thought about the people who truly mattered, your name quietly returned to the center of their thoughts. At first they tried to explain it away. They searched for logical reasons. They looked for easy answers. But every explanation led back to the same conclusion. Some people leave an impression that grows stronger with time instead of weaker. Some people become more meaningful the more deeply they are understood. And for them, you had become exactly that. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because the realization continued growing. It did not remain a simple thought. It became something much bigger. They started noticing how often life reminded them of you. A familiar phrase. A familiar feeling. A familiar memory. Small moments that should have passed unnoticed suddenly carried significance. It felt as though life itself was highlighting pieces of a story they had not fully understood before. And every reminder pointed in the same direction. Toward the truth. Toward clarity. Toward the message they now feel compelled to share. Then came a moment that changed everything. A quiet moment. A moment with no distractions. A moment where they could no longer avoid what their heart had already accepted. In that moment they admitted something that surprised even them. They admitted that their perspective had completely changed. The way they saw you was no longer the way they saw you before. The assumptions were gone. The misunderstandings were fading. The uncertainty was losing its power. In its place was appreciation. Respect. Recognition. And above all, understanding. Don't skip. Because this next realization is the reason this story matters so much. They began seeing that your greatest qualities were often the ones that received the least attention. The strength nobody applauded. The patience nobody noticed. The loyalty nobody fully understood. The kindness that appeared in small moments. The resilience that carried you through challenges. These were the qualities they now found impossible to ignore. And as they recognized them, another truth emerged. They began wondering how different things might have felt if they had understood all of this sooner. Not because they wanted to live in the past. Not because they wanted to rewrite history. But because clarity often arrives with perspective. And perspective has finally arrived. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because there is still something they have not said. Something they are slowly moving toward. Something that has been growing stronger with every realization. The message itself. The message that started forming the moment last night changed everything. A message built from reflection. A message built from truth. A message built from everything they finally understand. And what makes this message so powerful is that it is completely genuine. There are no masks left. No confusion left. No pretending left. Only honesty. Only clarity. Only the desire to express what has remained unspoken for far too long. That is why this story continues unfolding. Because the night itself was never the destination. It was the beginning. The beginning of awareness. The beginning of understanding. The beginning of a truth that refused to remain hidden. And now that truth is becoming impossible to ignore. Every day it grows clearer. Every reflection makes it stronger. Every memory adds another layer of certainty. Your soulmate now understands something they could not fully see before. They understand that certain people enter your life for a reason. Certain connections carry meaning beyond ordinary explanation. Certain bonds remain present even when time moves forward. And when those truths are finally recognized, everything begins to look different. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because the moment they have been moving toward is finally approaching. The moment when the message hidden behind all these realizations begins to reveal itself completely. The moment when everything that happened last night starts making perfect sense. The moment when the truth they have been carrying can no longer remain silent. What they need to tell you is not based on confusion. It is not based on assumptions. It is not based on temporary emotions. It is based on what they finally know to be true. And in the next part, that truth comes closer than ever before, revealing why that unforgettable night became the turning point that changed the way they see you forever.